Hello everyone, I am Tacit and welcome to the Gems of War Campaign 9, Week 9, or yeah, Campaign 9, Week 3, Day 5. So, today, of course, we got ourselves the faction going on, the Blackheart faction, and that's probably going to be the main thing we're going to be prioritizing this stream. Of course, as far as it is concerned, of course, still under the Games tab as per usual. As far as the format, it's pretty much try to head over here and then take the two side rooms. For the most part, there are some exceptions depending on how you want to do the treasure room as far as exact order. Restriction is specifically of the blue and purple, which leaves us with a lot of Thrall related teams as far as mana accumulation, like Leprechaun, Thrall, things like that. We can end up going for a pretty standard Zoogoth build for the later battles. For earlier battles, we can kind of just go a bit of a Rowan spam, which is likely what we shall be doing. We can just put the team right into here. So probably want to go down to Leprechaun Rowan initially. So go put that in there. Actually, probably want to double up on Leprechaun. Because for the most part, double up on Leprechaun or double up on Rowan? I guess we would want to double up on Leprechaun. Because we're going to want to double cast in a way that we could do this. We could also do this with Urskea Shield, which is the other reason we kind of want to double up that way. As we can get the Urskea Shield pretty much guarantee up and just do a single cast Rowan. And then by the time that starts to fail, we can start using a Zoogoth build. Aaron get Zoogoth. And then be good to go for the rest of the way. As far as class, a bit of an archer would be perfectly fine. We're not going to be dying in the earlier stages, so might as well have that extra damage output while having the green storm. We can go for a pretty standard, that's not what I wanted, minus yellow banner. Because we do want that +2 blue for sure. The other one could go into a brown if we really wanted to. So we can end up going to +2 blue, +1 brown, which I think we will this time around just because we have double Leprechaun already giving us the green. And we're good to go. And there we go. Now we have our +1 to 1 turn or 2 turn to shield. We got our +2 green, +2 blue for Rowan. And the minus yellow does literally nothing. And yeah, that'll be the team we probably will end up using for most of the time. However, or at least this stream anyways. However, we will eventually obviously switch into more of a Zoogoth build once it gets deep enough to justify using it. Anyways, hello Isabel, hello Roman, hello Tyrion, hello David, hello Inflame, hello Mr. Hello Hung, hello Rimple, hello Bill, and hello everyone else. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, I even noticed this earlier. We got the Easter skulls in as well. Of course, obviously we got Easter going on this week, Good Friday right now, and Easter this Sunday. We got the pet, of course, on Wednesday the other day. And I just realized we do not have armor set and we do not have the potion. I should probably go do both of those two things. No, we do not want to buy that. Though we do get the free one in 2 days from now, if nothing else. Let me go head over to the potion tab. So here's also the moment where we decide, do we actually go all the way with this? Obviously, we already own the weapon. I might go for all rewards. We might as well. We'll go for all rewards. I'm not sure if it's as worth it on the weekend event, but I'm still going to go for it. Oh yeah, did we pull this yet the other day? I can't even remember what the results were if we did. On if people are actually doing the weekend long one. I think I pulled it for the Tuesday one earlier. I did not post it for the weekend one. Hey, do you guys intend to go for all rewards or for... I'm probably going for all rewards again. But just the free battles. Let's see. How much of the faction do you plan to do this weekend? It was also Easter weekend, so that could sway it slightly, as that is a holiday for some people, of course. Let's see, what do I even put here? So it'd be free battles, all rewards, level 500 / leaderboard. And the other one would be not playing it at all, or skipping it, I should say. Skipping it. There we go. So free battles, all rewards, level 500 / leaderboard, and skipping it. Or pretty much skipping it, any amount that's like basically none. The free battles is kind of like the standard, like, you know, do the normal amount of sigils. All rewards would be, I believe, tier 3, which did we buy to that? I believe we did. Should have. Yeah, tier 3. Technically tier 4 if you want the weapon, obviously, if you don't already have it. I believe tier 3 is enough. Actually, do you even necessarily need tier 3? Can you do it tier 2? I don't remember these days. It hasn't been... We haven't had that many weekend events where we have to do all rewards like that. Because I'm so used to doing, like, whenever there's a weekend event, it's like, oh, we're just going to buy all the way to Pure Faction. But obviously I don't need Pure Faction for any of them anymore, so don't do them as often. How much does it cost to get all rewards? I believe it's just tier 3 last I recall. However, we've only had one other weekend, so I actually kind of forget these days because I don't normally go for all rewards, though lately I have been, since they've been doing that. But if I'm not mistaken, tier 3 is enough for all rewards if you wait all the way till Sunday. Might even be able to do it to tier 2 if you wait all the way to Sunday. I think it depends on Valraven luck. Because you need to make it to around floor 230, if I'm not mistaken, to get all rewards. And I believe tier 3 normally does that. We're tier 2 occasionally doing it, depending on how Valravens roll. At least last I recall. I haven't done it too often to really know. Since this is actually, I believe, the second repeat faction, if I'm not mistaken. It's either the second or the third, but I'm pretty sure this is the second repeat weekend faction event that we've had now. So, hello, Chris. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Mobarashi. Hello, David. Hello, Rogue. Welcome, 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 everyone. Hope all you've been having a wonderful Good Friday. You got tier 2 and seeing what happens if you grab the third. Yeah, if you get lucky, it is possible to do it with third. I forget how often the ratio really is for that because I don't normally do it at all. Or, you know, not to that degree. But lately I have been because of the repeat ones. Because generally when I think of a repeat or a weekend faction event, it's like, oh yeah, I need to go do level 500 pure faction because it's a new one. But all the ones more recently now, of course, have been not new. They've been ones that have already existed. Well, last I recall, it's tier 2 or 3. Depending on how the Valraven falls. Normally it's 3, so if you want to do it preemptively like I just did, you buy to 3. It's kind of like the whole thing where you can kind of do a Tuesday event with 0 or 1. If I'm not mistaken, a weekend one's the same way, where it's either 2 or 3, depending on how the Valraven falls. As well as the points. You have to keep in mind, it's based on how many points you get as well. Not simply how far you go into it. So some factions that have a better point ratio, you know, you won't need as many for. While ones that have a really bad point ratio, like this one's definitely not the greatest faction for that, which is also why I bought it to 3. Some of them that have a really good one, like City of Thieves, I'm pretty sure you almost guarantee to get that one tier 2. But this one definitely does not have as good of a format. Definitely one of the weaker format factions. Not the worst one in the game, but the layout's not the greatest for maximizing points. Because the way to maximize points is to get as many of the bigger ratios in as quickly as possible towards the earlier side. Oh, so hello, Logic Slayer. Did I say hello? Hope you've been doing well as well. I'm pretty sure the stream is going to be dedicated pretty much entirely to doing the faction. Getting as much as we can, pretty much so we get 0 sigils. Make that our main goal. And then the rest of the weekend we'll be finishing that up and then grinding mimics like crazy. And we will still be streaming Easter night. I will not be doing any midday streams this weekend. However, we will still be streaming during the night for both the 2 days, including on Easter Day itself. We'll still be celebrating Easter, of course. Just no stream during the day. But we will have the nightly one as per usual. So, hello, Lester and Eliza. Welcome, welcome. Also, my green screen's been acting very weirdly lately. I've been having to adjust it before every single stream. I don't think it's as bad right now, though. There's a bit of a shadow thing right there. Mostly because of the shadow from the light. Luckily, it's a bit easier to balance when it's nighttime. Because of, you know, the lack of light from the window. It's so weird at different times of the day. Because it just doesn't know what it wants to do. Because the light's constantly adjusting. I said, hello, Lester. Welcome, welcome. Hope all's been well. Hey, mimics. Hey, we found a mimic. Haha. Too bad it's not an actual mimic room. But yeah, there are faction mimics. They don't really give you anything that good. They're a treasure room, like a normal treasure room, but their loot is definitely way worse than a mimic room, or, you know, a real mimic room, a explorer mimic. I do always find it funny now that we have mimics both here and in the explorer. That the mimics in explorer are substantially better than this mimic treasure room. I just realized, am I running 20% with 8 armor, or am I running all armor? Oh, I'm not actually running 20% right now. I probably should switch that out. There's a difference between 16 damage for 2 extra starting mana on Rowan. I think the extra bit of speed is worth it, particularly for these earlier ones. Because we're not running a Mirage Queen. We could if we wanted to. I mean, no we couldn't, never mind. It's a, wait, no. Yes, we could. We could actually do a Mirage Queen if we wanted to. I don't know, should we? We can, because I forgot, yeah, blue is the other color. So we can go for the Mirage Queen there. The only problem with going Mirage Queen is we don't get as much for a Skier Shield when we start needing it. But 20% normally is enough to get through. But then we can't set the extra 16 damage. For the earlier battles, it doesn't really matter much. And by the time we reach late enough where it would actually matter, we're probably going to be fine just to switching to Zugov. So either way, it's fine. I feel like it's more of a preference thing, because more often than not, it tends to work either way. Because you have to keep in mind, the extra Leprechaun, even if it does literally nothing, is still doing something off the extra green that it does from Cascades. Because we're getting a +1 green from it, which allows us to double green, which is very useful because then we can go a different banner than we normally would. Because normally Rowan runs something like a +2 blue, +1 green banner. But it gets a lot more options when you have double green already as your link color. Because it's really important that Rowan has both double green and double blue, so that a 5x green and a 5x blue is always full mana regardless. There's not a single circumstance where that isn't full mana, because you get auto surge off it, and that will give you 12 mana for either the 5x green or the 5x blue. Realistically, almost every Leprechaun team is gaining so much mana that the exact management of it doesn't matter as much. But the link colors is mostly to make sure if you get a lucky turn 1, you get better value from it. So you can actually start just decimating everything. Yeah, it's a pretty decent boost. There's so many good boosts, it's hard to choose sometimes with Rowan. Because she has multiple different options that are all really good. Also, Cedric Room, if you really care a lot about gold, is actually best to take first, not last. Most treasure rooms you want to take last, so we already did full mana. But it's the one exception where you might want to take it first if you care about gold. It's not that much extra gold, but it definitely adds up. Especially if you already have a team that's gaining gold, like for example Leprechaun, which is getting gold every time you cast. Which isn't much gold, but it definitely adds up, especially with the Cedric bonus. Because Cedric applies that 100% bonus 4 times over because it gives it to every troop on your team. Which is kind of broken. Too bad you can't do that outside this game mode, otherwise it'd be such a great way to farm gold. It is within the context of delves, but you can only do it in the context of delves. It's also not consistent for him to always spawn. Hello Imperial! Welcome, welcome. Hope all's been well. Yeah, do you guys have any plans for Easter? It's mostly just eating with a couple family members. Nothing too much planned. And obviously that'll be done way before we do the nightly stream. We'll be doing that midday. Still need to go shopping tomorrow. There's a few things I still need to pick up. There's some last minute shopping for Sunday. Super last minute. Oh, maybe not super last minute, but... I don't know, as long as it's not the day of. Like, if you're doing it the day before, I feel like it's still manageable. If you're doing it literally the day of, that's a bit too last minute. Like, if you're holiday shopping for food literally the day of the holiday, that's a little late. The day before, that's still fine, depending on what it is. Plus, some things you want to get fresher anyways. Like most fish, you probably want to get as close to the date as possible. You're going to be playing Pokemon for Easter? Nice. Yeah, we pretty much played through all the content of the new DLC. Some of it was good, some of it was pretty disappointing. My overall verdict is the mainline Pokemon game still has so many flaws. Like, the more you play, it's like, oh gosh, I forgot how much flaws it has everywhere. It's still a good overall fun experience. I enjoyed it. But hopefully when they release another, it'll fix some of the more glaring issues. Also, I was doing that so he'd break submerge and then he immediately resubmerged. I need him to take a skull poke. Please take a skull poke. There. Or I could just take it out. You have enough skull damage to one-shot you. Hate when he does that. That's probably the most annoying trait in all of the Underworld. There's a room that's like all Merlantis troops, and when you kill it, it gives submerge to pretty much everything. Because every single time they cast, they gain submerge, which is very annoying for teams that want to kill everything simultaneously. It's not much of a big issue when you start getting into insta-kill teams later on and all that, but for the earlier stages when you're running other teams, it's very annoying. Oh, hello, Barbara! Welcome, welcome. Oh, hello, Dronian. Warden? What about Warden hero class? Warden can be useful from time to time. It's a very situational hero class. It's one of them that I at one point would have said almost was one of the worst classes in the game. Though since then, it has gotten some pretty good synergies. Because as time has gone on, it has gotten more and more ways to actually use it. The most relevant thing about Warden is that it's a green storm with Dispel. Dispel probably being the more noteworthy thing about it while doing the green. So there are a couple teams that run AoE, most notably Rowan build and Truffle, that benefit a lot from having both green, storm, and Dispel. I personally don't run it with Rowan, but I do run it whenever I run Truffle, oddly enough. Like, if I'm running a Truffle team and Explorer in the current state of the game, I do run it with Warden. It's just I normally don't run that team, so you don't see me running Warden that often. But it is actually a situationally decent hero class, due to it being the only hero class with that combination. Yeah, generally if you're using Warden, it's almost entirely for Green Storm plus Dispel. Because if you want just Dispel, there's other hero classes that do Dispel, or, you know, just Dispel better with other benefits. Because the only unique part about it is that it does Green Storm simultaneous to Dispel. So basically any AoE spammer that's green benefits probably most from Warden in a lot of situations. Beatrix doesn't need it because it already has, well actually, no, never mind, Beatrix would still need it. But you generally don't do it with Beatrix teams because Beatrix kind of used in a different way. But like Truffle, Rowan, like really big green AoE mythics like, I almost want to say Dragon Guard, but Dragon Guard actually runs with, Wordbreaker actually runs with Dragon Guard due to the dragon synergy there. But yeah, it's mostly just, I would say, Truffle and Rowan. I can't really think of too many other situations now that I think about it. There's quite a few of the other green mythics are ran in a different way, even if they have an AoE option. There's a faction event this weekend? Yes. This is the second weekend faction event that is a repeat faction. Particularly for the Blackheart, which is a pretty average faction. A really luck-based pure faction, though not super annoying. Like, once you get the upper hand, you kind of just win, unless you get really unlucky. The legendary troop here is pretty auto-win, which is the main saving grace to the pure faction. Like, as long as you don't insta-kill your legend, you basically win. To mitigate this, you want to run at least double the legend. Normally you run double legend, double epic if you're running the pure faction here. The double legend is to make sure if one dies, you win, because literally if it wasn't for insta-kill, one copy of the legend could solo the whole faction. You want two in case one dies, and then your other two troops can be pretty much anything you want. I would normally say the epic, so you have that true damage poke into a potential insta-kill, because you want to try to kill their insta-kills before the insta-kills kill you. But as long as you have one single tank alive by the final fight, like you should be fine. Especially if you already got rid of all their insta-kills. Because that's the only thing that can really make you lose for the most part, is very bad luck. Very, very bad luck. Like them insta-killing you every time they cast or something. Which can very much happen. Though very unlikely, though. It's possible. Most of their percents are pretty low, though. Like, the epic can get up to like a 20, 30-ish. The rest of them are pretty bad. But this guy is so tanky. He has 25% score reduction, but that doesn't make him seem too tanky. But the main thing that makes him so tanky is he has basically a Gorgolfa amount of explosion while gaining a bunch of attack and armor, which is pretty solid. Especially since as a player you'll have quite a bit more than that, especially with, you know, how many stats you'll have later at level 500 pure faction. And it's boosted by all previous enemies killed. That's specifically only the battle, not across the whole faction. Otherwise that would be very, very good. It's already good though, even without that aspect. That's only specifically of that battle, not the whole faction. I've had some people ask that before. It is specifically only the battle. That would be kind of cool if there was a faction troop that had something boost based on the entirety of the faction, though. Currently, no faction troops do that. Probably because it would be too hard for it to track the progress on that, if the mechanic was to ever exist. If you have Cedric and get Cedric room, he turns into double Cedric. Yes, it does stack on himself, though only once. In the sense that you would have basically 5 Cedrics instead of 4 Cedrics. Because basically the effect when you kill a Cedric room is you get 4 Cedrics on your team. And if you already had 1, that'd be 5 Cedrics, which isn't really that worth it. I wouldn't really advise doing that just for 1 extra Cedric. But yes, it does stack, but it stacks additively, not multiplicitly. So you just get an extra 100% added on, rather than it's doubling the other bonuses. It's just simply another 100%. So it's not as much of a bonus as you might think. Like, if it was double, that'd be insane, but that's not what it does. Unfortunately, that'd be pretty cool if it did, though. That'd be a lot of gold. But it does not double the amount of gold, unfortunately. It's just an extra 100%, which is way less than double. But if it was double, Cedric would be so meta. He already has been for gold farming. Like, even to this day, he's still the best way to gold farm. It's just, generally, with all the things they've been doing to the game, it's better to farm other things quicker than to go out every way to gold farm. Because even for just spamming gold, Explore 12 on entire stream with like a Zugoff quick kill, it's still getting like only 100 to 200,000 less gold than a proper gold farming team. Like, it's already a pretty good rate. It's doing like 300 to 400,000 gold per hour. Because that's not a small amount at all. I forgot, this was one of those places that can actually be 4 treasure room. It's not a guarantee 4 treasure room. I believe it's only guarantee 1 or guarantee 2. I actually forget off the top of my head. I believe the 2 that are guaranteed is... Actually, the only one that's guaranteed for sure is this one. I'm not sure if this one is. Because I know the 4 that can be is this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I believe this is the only guaranteed, or it's this one and the one to the left of it. Because this one has a chance of not being it, like right now it's not. And this one has a chance of not being it, of which case it currently is. But all 4 of these can be a treasure room. But this one's guaranteed. And this one I think is guaranteed, though it's been a while. I actually kind of forget. It's either 1 or 2 guaranteed. This one that we're doing right now is 100% of the time guaranteed. The one to the left of it I think is, so I'm actually not 100% certain off the top of my head. But I think every single time we've seen it this stream it has been, so I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I wish they would bring Skeleton Key back. I have no clue why they nerfed it. Like, even if Skeleton Key was what it was before, I still feel like it wouldn't be used much in the current meta. Even if they didn't nerf it at all. Like, I don't think it was ever too powerful. Like, there are things in the game way more powerful than peak Skeleton Key's decency. Like, they said they didn't nerf it to nerf gold farming, but they definitely nerfed it to nerf gold farming. Like, there was literally no other reason to nerf it, other than to reduce the rate at which you could gold farm. It wasn't even that much of a nerf to overall gold farming rates, but still. It made the maximum rate of gold farming slightly less. How many potions did I buy? None. Well, not none, but I bought to tier 3. So it's not any potions, technically. Or, you know, no tier 7s. It's just enough to get all the battles done for all rewards. Oh yeah, what is the pull at right now? It looks like 50% for free battles, which I would probably advise the most is just do the free battles. 24% are joining us for all rewards. 7% are going for leaderboard and or level 500 pure faction. And 21% of people are skipping it. Interesting. About as many people are skipping it as doing all rewards. Interesting. I assume most of those people have farmed vault events like crazy. Because if you think of the payout of it, it's not like ultra good. That's still decent. We get some vault keys, we get some orbs. Plus you have to consider all the rewards we're getting along the way as well. And you have to keep in mind too, next update is going to be updating the Underworld. Chaos Shards are going to be relevant again. So do be mindful that if you were kind of low on Chaos Shards, I'm not sure what low would even be considered. I almost want to say under 100,000. But, I don't know. I would say if you have under 10,000 shards, you probably want to be getting on that shard grind a little bit. Because they will be almost guarantee adding more things to use shards on next patch. Chaos Shards. Or not Chaos Shards. Yeah, Chaos Shards. The purple ones. The ones you get from the Underworld. They are almost guaranteed getting another purpose next patch. I don't think I'm going to start doing the daily unless something in next patch like really makes it enticing to. Like, let's say them actually fixing Explorer or, you know, faction level 500 or something. Like, if they did something like that, then maybe. But, if you are a little bit low on Chaos Shards, it is probably a good idea to be grinding them a bit. Because next patch is almost guaranteed using a decent number of them. How many exactly? Who knows? But, it is a update focused almost entirely on the Underworld next patch. Like, that's going to be the main focus of the patch, which means one of the main currencies of the Underworld, of course, are Chaos Shards. So if you are low on them, that is something you might want to fix between now and like a month from now, because the next patch is probably in about 3-4 weeks, like early May, mid-May probably. We don't have an official date, obviously, but in about a month from now. Speaking of which, 6-year anniversary of the channel is in about a week from now. It's actually not tomorrow, but next week Saturday is the 6-year anniversary of the channel. Just not sure what we'll stream for it. Not sure if I'll do a variety stream or just one really big Gems of War stream. I feel like the problem with doing one really big Gems of War stream is it'll start off strong and then damper out like crazy. Whereas if we do a little bit more variety, it kind of holds it a bit better. The only problem is if you switch too much, then people leave like almost every single time you switch to something they don't want to see. It's a hard thing to balance. I've done several in the past. Oh, so hello, U7. Welcome, welcome. Oh, we can make it the day we do a 12-hour treasure hunt. No, just kidding. There's no way. The only day we're ever going to do that is if they finally update treasure hunt itself. And it would have to be a really good update. Yeah, it's very obviously that they nerfed Scouting Key to make sure you couldn't gold farm as well. I'm not sure why they said otherwise, because it's very absurdly obvious that the whole reason they nerfed it was to nerf gold rate. Because Scouting Key at that time pretty much fell off the meta to such a degree that you were basically not even using it unless you were gold farming. And then they nerfed it and it's like, that's suspicious. The only purpose of this thing is to go farm gold. And then they nerfed the thing that farms gold. And then they said they didn't nerf it because it farms gold. Even though that is probably almost exactly why. How's the hunt going on Horde Mimic? Oh, we're currently at, I don't have the number up because we're not actually hunting any today. We will be this weekend. Though this day will be dedicated to, of course, the faction. But we're at 51 2 times and 5 times. Is where we're currently at right now. 51 2 times, 5. There we go. Yeah, those are our numbers currently. Obviously, hopefully we'll be higher soon, and hopefully we'll finally have the Horde Mimic at some point. But the hunt continues. I ideally want to have it before next patch comes. I don't think next patch will be an infinite farming thing, though. Because since it's associated to factions, factions are a daily kind of system that don't take an infinite amount of time. So, yeah, we can still keep farming them beyond that point. Because there's not going to be like an infinitely grinding thing in next patch, almost guaranteed. Like, it's just going to be expanding some mechanics of factions, hopefully balancing some mechanics of factions that have been broken since before it was even released, and other similar things. It took them like 2.5 years to get around to it, but I think they finally got around to it, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Not sure why it took them so long. When they finally get around to a balance patch, yeah, sometime in the next, like, 3 years, hopefully. How would you feel if they nerfed troops like Rowan? I wouldn't necessarily mind. It depends what becomes the new Rowan. Because Rowan, oddly enough, even at 1x boost ratio, used to still be used back in the day. Not nearly as much as it is today. But even at a 1x boost ratio, Rowan was still usable. Because it has one benefit over Sunbird in that it does not lose its buffs when it casts. It has the liability of, if it takes like any damage at all, it's losing its potential damage output. But one nice benefit that it has comparatively to Sunbird, which is generally the other, or at least in the olden days, the other alternative Rowan, The main benefit that it has is, let's say you give it 100 armor, like, you know, you give it like 24 armor off a guard and maybe like a buff off Urskia's shield. That armor buff is permanent, assuming you don't take damage. So you can keep using it for every cast. If you put HP onto Sunbird, it only works on the first cast you do. So if you're getting 24 extra HP, it's only 24 damage for your first cast, and then every subsequent cast does not have that 24 damage, as well as any other HP buff that you do. It only applies to the first hit and not every hit. The main benefit of Rowan is, even though her defense is more exposed compared to the HP value, due to, you know, everything, or for the most part, being able to hit armor, despite that, it has the benefit of being able to maintain all of its stats per cast, whereas Sunbird resets back to base values every time after the first cast. So even at a 1x boost ratio, Rowan is still viable. It's just a lot less damage than what it is now, to such a degree that it'll almost never be used. Like, compared to like a Rowan Sunbird, there's still situations it will be used, but compared to like other meta damage source relative to the Rowan, she might never get used again, at least in most situations, if she was to move down back to a 1x boost ratio like she was way back in the day. I'm not sure they would do that. I feel like they would nerf her, but I don't think they would get rid of her 2x boost ratio. I feel like they would nerf her in some other way, like maybe making the mana cost like 14 or 15. Rather than lowering the damage. Because they've been doing that a lot when they have done some passive nerfs. Is they go for the mana cost value rather than the damage value. Like, that worked really good for Life and Death. Like, it was a nice in-between change where they nerfed Life and Death, but it didn't nerf it so hard that it was unusable. All they did was raise its mana cost by 3, 2? I can't remember. It was like 15 or 16, and it was removed to 8, and then it was moved up to 18. Like, that's the kind of tweak I could see happen in Rowan, where it gets moved up like 2 or 3 mana cost to 14 or 15. Because then she'd still be very viable. Like, she'd still be pretty much as viable as she is now, it'd just be slightly less consistent to full mana her on one turn. Yeah, also, I should probably switch to the Zugov team soon. I better start actually remembering to use Urskia's shield, because I'm pretty sure I've casted it like twice, if even that. Oh yeah, Adventure Board. I haven't actually grabbed it yet today. Let me go double check. What do we have? We got a verse 4. I actually have the most of verse 4, so that doesn't help me as much, but hey, 15 gems. And I do like all the verses. Yeah, we'll go grab it. Might as well. I don't see why not. Might as well do the other daily too, since we have the Phoenicia build. But yeah, that's the one I have the most copies of. So verse 4 to me is personally the least consequential of any of them, but I still like getting all of them, even if this is the one we have the highest number of. Plus 15 gems is 15 gems. Sparkinator, taking armor from the enemy would be a net loss gain or for Tesla. So it would not help Tesla at all. Yeah, Sparkinator's really weird. I don't understand the Mythic that they're adding at the end of the season. I hope it gets buffed before it gets released, because everything it does makes very little sense. It's very weak in pretty much every parameter. Like, its traits aren't good, its ability isn't good, it's outclassed by so many things. Like, there are epics and commons that do what it does better. I'm not really sure what they're going for with that troop. Like, the weapon was definitely a bit better than I was anticipating. Though still, compared to a normal, like, a mana accumulation weapon, I still feel like it's not worth it in most situations. But it was still usable, if nothing else. But that Mythic just seems unusable. The traits are abysmal. Its mana accumulation is so much mana cost relative to what it's doing in return. It's not even fully consistent. Because what happens if you create 10 bomb gems and you miss your explosion? As in, you don't end up clearing the board. If the enemy has any amount of destroy, the amount of backfire they'll have on you is so absurd. Because you basically just handed the enemy... You basically just paid 22 mana costs to give the enemy a free Gurgulfa cast. Which is insanely bad value if it fails. When you could just do other options that are completely safe. Because at least the weapon, you get to choose where you destroy. Even though the bomb gems get created after, you still at least get to choose. But you do not get to choose with the new Mythic coming out at the end of the season. But I do hope that they change it. We still have like another 6 weeks. Well, 6 weeks if you bought the bigger pass, 7 otherwise. But yeah, I still hope they change it. Stealing armor, or a bunch of armor from all enemies is barely anything. 10 bomb gems is okay. But then exploding a random gem as follow-up with no other follow-up beyond that's pretty bad. 22 mana cost, so there's plenty of mana accumulators that do similar amount of explosion for way less mana. And, I don't know, 25% buff reductions doesn't really do much. If his final trait was actually good, I could see, like, his whole setup being okay. But his final trait's bad. It just gains some armor when matching red gems while having nothing that has armor boost ratio. If he had something really good to use all this armor on, like if this was 50% score reduction, 50% spell reduction, and like something really, really good to use armor, like let's say, I don't know, I can't really think of a thing to do without making it literally Tina's ability, because Tina gets an ability where, what is it, 50 or 100% of its armor becomes attack value? I think it's 50%, which ends up making it a pretty substantial amount of additional skull damage. Like, he has nothing that uses armor, despite the fact he has 2 different ways of gaining more armor, which is very confusing. That's a problem that a lot of armor buffers have, though. It's not exclusively a problem to him. I feel like the entirety of things that boost armor have that issue, where, like, it's very pointless to gain only armor. Like, it's the most useless stat unless you use it for something else. Like, if you don't specifically have armor boost ratio on the troop, gaining armor is by far the most useless of the 4 stats. At least as an ability. Like, if you're just randomly gaining armor for extra durability, that's good. Like, you know, just stats from kingdoms and stuff like that. But in the context of, like, using your ability just to gain armor is really bad unless you have a good boost ratio for it. And even in the context of Tesla, it doesn't really help much. Like, the troop itself needs to have the boost ratio. Anyways, let me go change my team to, like, a Zugaf or something. Because we're kind of at the point where we need to. Actually, I could have kept a Leprechaun there. Because we're probably going Thrall, Leprechaun, and then the double combo. Also, I would say this is at least my personal favorite meta team for Underworld. I'm not sure if it's the absolute most optimal thing in existence, but it is definitely one of my personal favorites. And there are a few kingdoms that can run it, and this is one of them. And by kingdoms, I mean factions. And then we set a banner to like double purple, blue or something. And then minus green. Yep, there we go. Exactly what I wanted. Alright, there we go. Because it doesn't matter if we minus green, because Leprechaun already has a +1. So he still has 3 mana that he ends up getting. Because you still want him to be divisible by 3 if you can. So the minusing of the green doesn't actually really negate anything. Also, oddly enough, this team uses no hero class, which is a little bit weird. But it works perfectly fine. This is one of the few teams I actually run with 0 hero class. Hero class is used in pretty much every team these days. Though there are some exceptions. And this is one of those exceptions. Let me go change my medal. I wanted to do that one battle, so it saved my team. However, I do want, like, seasons or something. We could also go magic. However, the reason you normally go magic with this team outside of factions is because Thrall gets more destroy. So if you're doing, like, a Thrall Zugaf build, you want Thrall to be able to destroy more of the board. However, in the context of factions, this is less relevant because he has, like, 1 billion magic. So it doesn't actually matter if he has more magic, because he basically already has all the magic he ever needs. In a lot of situations, you can even have 64+, which clears the whole board. Not sure why he's only at 60 right now. I guess I don't have this kingdom as upgraded compared to some others. Because normally I recall him having, like 60-something, or, you know, high 60-something or 70-something. But apparently I don't have this kingdom as upgraded as some of the others. Oh, it also is earlier in the week as well. Because we don't have any magic bonus yet from campaign, which might be the thing. But you do even get any magic bonus from the campaign? I assume we get at least +2. Because of course on different campaigns we get either +2, +4, +6 at the various times during the campaign. I'm pretty sure this one we only get a +2 at like week 6 or something. Let me double check. Normally the stats I don't pay too much attention to, but they can make a little bit of a difference. Like in that case, if he had 4 more magic, he'd have a guaranteed full board clear. Whereas right now he's 4 mana short of it. Where did I check that again? Campaign. Oh no, we do get 4 magic, it's just we don't have it yet. We get 2 next week, we get 2 the following week. Yeah, it's a 4 magic week. And we actually get both of them pretty early, back to back. Week 4 brings 2, and week 5 brings another 2 for 4 total. Unfortunately, neither of those help us now. That is 4 magic that he needs, however, we don't get it till 2 weeks from now. Which does not help us with right now, unfortunately. But that'll explain where his other 4 magic is. It's on the campaign pass that we haven't reached yet. That is exactly where his 4 magic is. That he's missing currently. That's a little bit of a miss. Luckily, Zugaf has freeze. Unfortunately, he is immune to freeze. Gosh, I love this team. From a running faction perspective, there's no team I like more than this one personally. It just works so well. The biggest liability with it though, and you have to be careful with it if you're running with lower stats, Zugaf can very easily die if you have lower stats, which is a huge liability of running this team. But when it works really well. And later in the game you have enough stats where he dies way less often. Also, once you get your first Devour, he pretty much doesn't die, so it's kind of just like a rush to get his first Devour off. Which is normally not too hard to do, because you have Leprechaun for the initial cast, so you have Thrall as a follow-up pretty early. Also, Leprechaun should be behind Zugaf. I'm not sure why I put it in front of it. Zugaf should be in 3rd slot. Because once you cast once with Leprechaun, you don't want to keep casting it. It also makes it so you're not blocking as much on purple. Can't change it until we finish out the kingdom though, or the faction run. Though you can run it either way. It really just depends if you want more mana or not. The problem with running it this way is it's taking a little longer to get Zugaf up. Because you're blocking 12 purple mana from Zugaf. Which makes him have not full mana a little bit more often. Of course, you won't have as many Leprechaun casts, but that's mostly what the Thrall's for. Because it's perfectly fine that Thrall's blocking the purple because he takes so little mana cost to get a billion more mana back. But you generally don't want your Leprechaun to block on purple, because the amount of mana that it does compared to a Thrall is pretty bad. Even a perfectly optimal Leprechaun that explodes the entire board, which almost never happens, but even if it did, even that is not that much value, because you're only getting half as much as a Thrall cast. Because even a perfect Leprechaun only gets 50% of the mana for the board, whereas Thrall gets the full 100%. Also, if a balance patch nerfs Thrall, you know how controversial that will be? Like, obviously he needs a nerf, but the reaction to it will be really funny. Because that'd probably be one of the biggest nerfs they've ever done if they actually nerf Thrall. That or if they nerf Leprechaun somehow. I don't think they would ever nerf Leprechaun though. Like, I could see Leprechaun being the exact way he is forever. Though I could see Thrall actually getting nerfed. Though they can't just nerf only Thrall, because there's several troops that do what Thrall does. So if they nerf only Thrall, people will just switch to Marilith or Egg Thief or any of the other billion things. Actually, Egg Thief, I feel, used to be a lot more popular. I don't feel like it's used that much these days. It's still a good option. I think the biggest issue with it is it has a bit more of a startup time, and battles are so quick in the current state of the game that startup time is just a huge liability when farming. Because the only kind of team that really uses it was Skeleton Key team. And it was already falling off even as Skeleton Key was kind of running out of the meta. And then when they nerfed it, you know, like almost everyone stopped using it for the most part. Like, it's still viable, just way less since gold farming teams have been nerfed, as we mentioned earlier. And his technical nerf suggestion is Thrall get nerfed, we know where to point our fingers. Thrall's obviously eventually going to get nerfed. There's no way they're going to keep a common as the best mana accumulator in the game. Like, if we made a top 10 troops video, Thrall is so high on that list. Like, he's probably 3rd. Just because no other mana accumulator even touches them. It's hard to compare him to Leprechaun, though, because they both serve a different role in a different way. Like, Leprechaun is less mana accumulation, but the fact that you can turn 0 it, or, you know, turn 1, whatever you want to call it, like, you know, instantly be able to use it, is very, very good. Like, between these two troops, it invalidates, like, 95% of mana accumulators in the game, maybe 90%, because of course there's double Empower. There's basically 3 ways to auto-win a battle. Double Empower, Thrall, and Leprechaun when it comes to like mana accumulation. Like nothing touches those 3 things. There are very few options, like maybe some exploding hero weapon stuff and, you know, a couple things here and there. Like Urgolth is still okay if you want like a huge explosion with skull reduction, stuff like that. But like the core 3 are Thrall, Leprechaun, and any double Empower. Obviously not on the same team. That would be a kind of funny team. Could you imagine? It would be very pointless. But could you imagine having double Empower into purple, Thrall, and Leprechaun? That'd be the most pointless team ever, but it would be very funny. Also, he better not die to Deathmark. Good. He just cleansed it. This team can still function even if it only has Zugaf left. It just becomes a lot harder. Like, if Iron Gut dies, it's not the end of the world. If Iron Gut and Zugaf dies, then yes. As long as one of them's still alive, you can still win the whole faction. It just becomes way harder. Also, I gotta remember the immune to Devour. In this battle, the only thing that doesn't have immune is the Gate. Why you want to torture us? Thrall is like, I know, right? Thrall is so good. But I have no clue when they're finally going to do another balance patch. We know in like the roadmap that they mentioned that they're going to do, what's it called? They're going to do a Broken Spire rework. As far as like a full game rebalance, I'm not sure what on earth they're finally going to get around to something like that. Or what on earth they would do when they do. Because every single time it happens, there's just always a lot of weird things that normally happen. I think the 3 most noteworthy ones that happened in the previous big sweep was Life and Death became worse, though it wasn't that noticeable. Skeleton Key was nerfed into the ground, and they somehow buffed Thief class by nerfing it, which is a common theme when they do balance patches. I'm not sure how they managed to do it, but they have done so many buffs that have been nerfs and so many nerfs that have been buffs. It happens pretty much every major balance patch that has ever happened, and is really funny. I don't think I've ever seen any game do buffs that are nerfs and nerfs that are buffs. Like things that are supposed to improve things that make things worse, and things that are supposed to make things worse that make the troop even stronger. It has happened multiple times. The one that happened in the previous one is they nerfed Bandit's mana cost from 8 to 11, making it so his ability is worse. You would think like that just definitively makes him weaker. However, there is a feature in this game where you can refund your traits, and if you already had the troop max, what you could do was have it max, gold medal it, so you have the extra stats for having it max, then untrade it so it had no traits, then only get its first 2 traits that you don't have stealthy. Now whenever you summon it off a hero, it no longer has stealthy and still has the extra stats from being fully upgraded. It's currently impossible to do in the current state of the game, but anyone who did it a couple years ago now has a bandit that is very broken, because it has the benefit of having gold medal without being fully gold medaled. Or, you know, without actually being fully maxed out, which is actually impossible to do in the current state of the game if you didn't do it back like 2 years ago. It's not too big a deal, because that's a very rare archetype of game, of a team that's pretty much only using Guild Wars defend teams. However, it was technically a buff to bandit. Because the only context it was generally used is being summoned off a hero, and is now stronger, because now it doesn't have stealthy if you did it that way, while having extra stats. And it not having stealthy is more beneficial than it having stealthy, because the hero class that summons it has stealthy. So if it doesn't have stealthy, that means they have to target the bandit and not your hero, which makes your hero tankier. Which is very strong and overall a big buff to bandit. More so to any hero class that can summon bandits, but it's technically a buff to bandit. You just got back-to-back power orbs? Gosh, how many power orbs do you have? You were mentioning like the other day you had 102. Do you have like 110 now? I haven't gotten a 1% power orb in over a year now. I got like 3 the first year and then like none since. Though in all fairness, I also haven't been opening as many orbs. Like if we started going through all of our vault keys, we'd be getting like, you know, dozens of powers. You have 105 now? It's still a lot, gosh. So that means you got another 3 since you last said your power orb number, which was not even a week ago. Ooh, the stealthy room. The good old stealthy room. Oh, not the stealthy room. Oh, you know what I mean. The 20% extra dodge. Oh, well, here's the bandit I was talking about. His nerfed 11 mana cost. I'm still not sure why they even nerfed him to 11 mana cost. That was just such a weird change from 8 to 11. I think the main reason was because of his ratio in Arena. But since when do they balance for Arena? It was just a really weird change. But to this day, it doesn't make much sense. I was super surprised we have sigils. We actually still have a decent handful. Yeah, as far as getting our rewards, you only have to go to about 230. Or, you know, 230. As far as the deepness of the faction. It depends slightly on multiplier, but generally around 230 is where it gets done. And we're currently at 120, which means you need about another 10 of them or 11 of them, depending on how it goes. And currently we have at least 8 sigils left, not even counting any Vow Ravens. Which is why I said Vow Raven luck can kind of tweak it one way or another. Because it is definitely possible to do it with tier 2. It really just depends how the Vow Ravens fall. Hey, level 10 chests. We've been getting several level 10 chests. I've been calling them out every time they happen. But we got a decent handful of them this stream. Too bad they don't have any special loot in them. They are likely getting a tweaked drop table going into next patch, by the way. We don't know exactly what those tweaks will be, but the drop table for Underworld chests will be changing. Likely in a positive way. I highly doubt they would nerf it. This definitely doesn't need a nerf, that's for sure. If anything, it needs a buff. But from what we can tell, it definitely seems like it's going to be a buff. What exactly they're doing with it, who knows? They're probably adding like a wider range of resources and stuff like that. I really hope they add tokens, maybe even deeds. Could you imagine? We are definitely doing the daily of Underworld every single day if they add deeds or any deed equivalents. It's a daily I currently skip, and I feel like a lot of people skip. Which maybe I should pull that tomorrow. Like, do you do the daily delves? The 3 daily delves you get. I feel like that would be skewed heavily based on what point a person is within the game, though. Because if you're still progressing through the game, that's almost guaranteed going to be yes. If you already have multiple pure factions, or literally every kingdom already done, then the answer is way more likely to be no. Like, that poll would be drastically different if it was based on people who already have all the factions done or not. Or at the point of which they're doing it. Because once you have most of them max, it becomes a lot less relevant too. And when you have all of them max, it becomes really less relevant too. At least in the current state of the game anyways. Could change with next patch. Come on, give me a skull. Oh wait, there was one just sitting there. Whoops. Who put that skull there? Who but that skull very obviously in range of our sights. We never handed out a code yet. Sure, go ahead and win out. Wind out at the end of the set. Get rid of that Empower. Gosh, Empowers are so annoying. We were joking about it earlier. Well, not really joking, but kind of talking about it around the time of last Guild War. But I really wish they would add rule sets to Guild Wars. Like, you have to use specifically, like, no Empower on a given week. Or you have to use a certain damage type, or, you know, something like that. Something to change it up. Something to prevent double Empower. I don't know, some cool ones would be no Empower, no Hero would be kind of interesting. Like, no Hero, like, any of the rules would apply to both offense and defense. No Hero would be actually kind of interesting, too. Because almost every Guild War team is based around Hero. Because you're on defend, you're either using, like, Orb Weaver, Thief, Elementalist, you know, all the really annoying ones. Offensively, you're normally using safe things, like everything. No, like Elementalist, any of the Barrier on Browns, Monk, depending on the team, a few other things like that. Really depends on the team composition. I feel like it's a lot more common on defend to always have Hero, though. Like, there are quite a few offensive teams that can actually get away with no Hero. But every defensive team pretty much runs Hero because of how many ridiculously strong mechanics there are for defend team heroes. Hey, there we go. Let's go ahead to the code. And then we'll go finish out these last few sigils. And by last few, I mean actually last one if you don't get a Valraven here. Looks like we made it to 15. Because obviously this is 140 and then it goes to 150. And we got almost all the rewards. Getting there. Because you have to keep in mind we're actually a lot closer than it seems. Because they keep scaling up their amount of points that they get. So even though point-wise we're only like halfway there, maybe not even halfway. We're technically more than halfway. Because you have to keep in mind every floor we keep going, we keep getting scaled further. So even though we've gone for 12 floors, because, you know, you start at 20, even though we've gone for 12, we technically only have 8 more to go. So we are technically more than halfway there. It's mostly because of how points scale, and you keep getting more and more. Because obviously these rooms are giving way more points than the earlier rooms. Anyways, let me go give you guys a code. Have not done so yet, and we haven't really set a milestone to do so. As mostly what we're just doing is grinding out the faction, of course. Hopefully we get a Valraven here. Still want to get like another 2 in if we can. Should be 3 total there. Let's see. But there you guys go. There's a redeem code. Use gemsofwar.com. Game code section. Or gosh, what English? You use that on gemsofwar.com underneath the game code section, or simply click that link. Your redeem code can be found underneath your settings menu, whatever game says right over here. This is what you put in for your invite code. Redeem code is right over there in chat. It's copy paste random numbers and letters. Start with JM. And give same word as always. True treasure maps, 1 gem key, 200 souls, 2,500 gold. Definitely feel free to leave a like on the stream. Helps a lot and is greatly appreciated as always. Thank you, everyone. And there goes go. And only usable on PC and mobile version of the game. Anyways, let's take our tribute. Definitely don't want to leave that laying around. 22 gems, nice. And let's go finish out this faction. And then we'll end it there. Hopefully we get a Valraven here, though, so we can end up going another 2. Otherwise, this might be our last run for the night. Oh, there we go. Perfect. What did I say? I had a feeling we'd be getting another 2. Okay, so these will be the last 3 we do tonight then. Perfect. So we'll still be going for another, like, 15 minutes or so. Perfect, perfect. I was going to say, we should be getting another Valraven any moment now. Which is why I said we'd likely be doing 3. And we are going to be doing 3. So we'll do this last 3 then. Because we have this floor and then the extra 2 we just got from the Valraven. Perfect. That's the exact amount I wanted. And then we'll mostly be mech farming the rest of the weekend. Obviously, we'll still be doing faction tomorrow night to finish it out. And depending on how Valraven luck it goes, we might be able to finish it tomorrow night, or at least be very close, if not all the way. Depends where the Valraven falls. This one was pretty lucky. Got it exactly when we needed it. Pretty much almost called the exact time, too. Kind of funny, it was literally on the first battle there. Like, I had a feeling it would be on this floor. I didn't think it would be on literally the first battle, though. Good night, Ricardo. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a good Easter if you celebrate. Or a good Good Friday. Not quite Easter yet. Get in there. I really love the playstyle of this team. It's just an interesting flow to it. Which is probably one of the things that I feel like Gems of War does really good. Some teams have really good flow. It's a really interesting playstyle compared to a lot of games. And even though there's so few options that are like ultra viable, the amount of weird, quirky teams that can be built that actually, like, you know, function to a good degree, that actually are, like, different playstyles. Like, probably one of the more noteworthy ones that have come in recently, of course, is, well, maybe not super, super recently, but, the Rogue Spider team that has a completely different feel from a lot of other teams, but still feels, like, amazing to use, while still being viable. Like, when they can end up making teams that are like that, or, you know, like new options that can synergize and stuff like that, that's what I really like in this game. I just wish it would happen more often. We get way too many, like, dead content troops. They make it hard to find where all the synergies are. Because realistically, there's, like, what, a few hundred troops in this game? Even though it technically has over 1,100. You just have to weed through all of the useless ones. Now, sometimes those useless ones get synergy. It's very rare, though. Like, Zillow Potchleaf in, is something like, the Strix Kingdom. Like, that thing, under a really weird circumstance, could maybe be good at some point. However, they would literally have to build a meta around it to try to make that thing usable. Though, there are technically troops that could be added that would make Zillow Potchleaf from, like, D tier Mythic to A tier. It would just need the right team synergy. Because I feel like that happened to Mother of Darkness. She was like a mid-C tier Mythic that became pretty much S tier just by giving her a good synergy option. That was super fun to use. That was actually viable. Oh, did he just agile me? I probably should have killed him earlier. He's like a weird 20% agile. Which is just enough for him to survive. Very annoyingly. Oh, I should probably Iron Gut first. Also, I almost just clicked the one that has the only thing on the enemy team that has immune to Devour. That would have been a bit of a fail. Probably should have hit the one I had mean to freeze. I was thinking of it and then didn't. You guys got a third one from a regular Valky, gosh. What does that put you at now? 106 power orbs? You need to start donating your power orbs to people. That's a lot of power. We could do a whole stream of opening vault keys, and I'm pretty sure we'll get like 1 power. And you got like 3 in an hour. I don't know, the only thing I got lucky on, I finally got my first Overworld shiny in a Pokemon game today. I think it's 1 in 1,300 something odds. Normally it's like 1 in 4,000. I have no intention to ever hunt them that way though. It just randomly happens. I played through most of the games since like the early or the late 1990s. And that was the first one I've ever seen. At least in such a way anyways. So I got lucky on that at least. The luckiest thing we got in Gems of War recently was a week ago we got a 5 times Nisha. Obviously from a 5 times chest. Because that's the only way you can get a 5 times Nisha. There's literally no other way. Because even if you got 3 Nishas in a chest, that'd be 6. Also, you'd be absurdly lucky if you got 3 Nishas in a chest. But the only way you can even get a 5 is from getting specifically a 5 times chest. Which is pretty insane when it happens because it's basically half of a Nisha medal in one single drop. Yeah, power orbs are pretty dead content until they add more things to use them on. I wish they would. I still don't understand why they added a 0.1%, or sorry, not 0.1, I mean a 1% chance to get them from a major orb. Yeah, since they've done that about 1.5 years ago, they have added no new content to use the power orbs on, which makes absolutely no sense. Because the assumption at the time, and still to this day, is that, okay, they, you know, increased the rate of power orbs, now they're going to add more things to use power orbs on. To this day, they still have not, which is very confusing. Like, obviously, they shouldn't add too many things that require power orbs. Otherwise, it'll be really hard for newer players, but, like, literally nothing in 1.5 years is a little weird. Probably a new currency incoming. When is there never? There always is. Like the Underworld update's probably going to add some kind of new Underworld currency that's going to be in chess. To make it so running the dailies and everything will be relevant again. So even if you have a stack of like 1,000,000 Chaos Shards, it'll be like, no, 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 you still need this new resource. You know it's going to happen. If nothing else, it'll definitely make running daily factions viable again. I'm not necessarily sure that's a good thing. Because daily factions can add 20 to 30 minutes more grind per day. Which some people might not want to do. I wouldn't mind it too much though. It depends how required it feels. Like if it feels like you have to do those dailies to get that resource, that might be a little annoying. Because one nice thing about Explore 12 is it's a very optional grind. Like you can do it if you want a bit more stats and stuff like that. But it doesn't feel like a required daily in any mains. Like, you can do it as a daily. You can grind it here and there, and we pretty much do. But it doesn't feel like you have to. Whereas if they were to add something like, you know, an Underworld daily, that is already there. But if they added something that you, like, felt like you had to do to progress, that'd be a little annoying. Because they're pretty optional right now. As you're progressing through the game, they're probably a little bit less optional. But they're a pretty optional thing overall. But they might make some kind of change that makes them seem less optional. Even to people who have pretty much everything. Because if they add some kind of new currency there that you can only get in them, then, yeah, so you would need to do them. Unless you could farm a lot of them from the events, like these weekend events we have and stuff like that. Because that's one of the things that has led to a lot of people having surplus as well. Is there's a Tuesday event every single week. Now there's weekend events that happen even when there's no new factions. Can you sell the devs power orbs for $50? I know, right? Even if you could get like $10 per each, that's $1,000 right there. You've got yourself $1,000 worth of power orbs. Probably even more. Well, technically 5,000 if you did it at 50 each. Honestly, I know it will never happen, but I'm really curious what the pricing for stuff would be if Gems of War had like an in-game currency shop that was like player ran. Because you realize like the average legend would cost like not even 10 cents. The average mythic would cost like $1 with a few exceptions. Like Zugoff might cost like closer to 5 and a few other things like that. But like the price of everything would be so funny relative to what the game actually charges. Like, you could probably pick up a Zugoff for a few bucks. Oh, I meant to cast you first. I'm not sure why I did in that order. Also, I did it that way because if you create skulls and cascades for a while, it actually takes longer. That's not that big a deal. Either or, it wins about the same speed. But there we go. We made it to 170. That's a pretty good run. We still have how many floors left? Technically, this counts as one. So we have 7. We got 7 more floors or so to do. 6 or 7, depends how it rolls. So we'll get 3 more tomorrow, probably a Valraven, which means, yeah, we will need the battles on Sunday, to finish that out. And we will still be streaming Easter night, just won't be streaming during the day these next 2 days. But we will still be doing a normal Gems of War stream that we do every single night, 1 hour prior to now, every single night, as we always do, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anyways, guys, I will be calling it here for now. We'll be back same time as always. Hope you all have a good Friday. I hope you all have a wonderful Easter if you celebrate it in 2 days. And yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow night. We're mostly going to be continuing the faction and getting on the Mimic grind. And I'm not sure if I could do anything interesting for Easter. We should try to figure out something though. But I'll have a little Easter party. And I don't know, what's something egg related we could do in game? We don't have any special event going on, so nothing we can actually do in that regard. We'll figure out something. Anyways, guys, hope you all enjoy your weekend, the holiday weekend. I'll catch you guys soon. Thanks for stopping by as always, greatly appreciated. And goodbye, everyone.